banks of Cogra Bay today. I've brought you all down here to announce officially that I will be a candidate to lead the New South Wales Labor Party in a leadership contest over the coming weeks and months. I do so at a sad moment in the history of the Labor Party on the back of two very tough election losses. One on Saturday, and I've obviously won a couple of months ago in the New South Wales state election. It's a sad reality for members of the New South Wales Labor Party that we face 12 long years in opposition before we have the chance, just the chance of regaining majority government. It's also a funny thing in politics that you can have two election results, two losses, but for almost opposing reasons. In one, we lose an election because we offer a lot and we lose, and the other, we don't offer much in the way of specific policy, and again, we lose. And for many Labor Party members, they're scratching their heads saying, well, what lesson do we take? What lesson do we learn as a result of these election losses? I don't believe now is the time to crawl up in a ball and refuse to put our shoulder behind good Labor policy and project that to the people of New South Wales. That's our obligation as Labor Party members. It's really when the Labor Party is at its best. But there's one caveat to that. When we are developing policy for the future of the state and the country, we must remember that the people of Australia are ambitious. They're ambitious for themselves, they're ambitious for their families, and they're ambitious for their country. And they can't believe that the Labor Party is antagonistic to that success. I've got friends that live around this community in my seat of Cogra who work 50-hour weeks that miss Saturday sport, but they don't see their kids play soccer or netball because they want to get ahead. They want to work extremely hard. And the sad thing is about Labor's losses, the Labor Party was actually created to have upward economic mobility, to ensure that every Australian maximised their potential, to ensure that there was, regardless of your circumstances, regardless of your economic circumstances, an opportunity for you in this country. So we're ambitious for Australians, and we want Australians to believe we are ambitious for them. There's going to be a lot of issues that we talk about over the coming days and weeks, small and large, but three pillars that I believe should be the cornerstone of this campaign. Firstly, building a livable city. Now, for millions of Australians and people that live in the city, it's becoming congested, the built environment is becoming uglier, and it lacks some fun and excitement. Now, I don't believe that there's a secret recipe for cities around the world that do well. It just requires good governments making good decisions over and over again, like choosing public transport over toll roads, or choosing good urban medium density design over urban sprawl. What it doesn't involve is blaming immigration or immigrants for the failure to provide public infrastructure, public transport and open space. New South Wales has no responsibility over immigration policy, and I believe that people of this state see it as an excuse, and the Labor Party and all political parties not getting on with the job of providing public infrastructure that the community needs. The second issue is one of climate change. We can't shy away from climate change. Regardless of the economic result or the electoral result on any Saturday, it is still a major issue facing the world and facing us. Now, I believe we should take action on climate change and be the leading state in the nation when it comes to renewable energy. Not because we want to help some distant country, not because it makes us feel good, not because we need to chase votes, but because it's affecting this country right here, right now. It's affecting our environment and it's affecting our economy. And if you need an example of that, look at the Darling River, a 60,000-year-old river that is the cornerstone of intensive agriculture in the far west, that is dry in parts, just 10 years after the conclusion of the Millennium Drought, which itself was the worst drought in recorded history. Now, I've spoken to farmers in the far west, generations of farmers who've been on the land for multiple generations, who are considering selling up and moving out because there's not the rainfall to sustain intensive agriculture. Now, they haven't read an academic paper or consulted a weather chart. They've seen with their own eyes that this is an existential threat to their communities. So the third one, and of course every election is going to come down to the issue of the economy, is what New South Wales will do in the event of a downturn in the housing market. Now, I don't hope there's a downturn in the housing market. I don't expect that there will be, but we must always have a plan B and plan for a rainy day. I believe firmly that if you ask the Treasurer or the Premier what their plan B would be, if housing receipts and stamp duty receipts came into the Treasury, started to slow down, they'd stare at you blankly. Well, we must ensure we have a balanced economy that is right throughout the cycle. Look, at the end of the day, the Labor Party must remember that, well, we can't forget, indeed, that the people of New South Wales need strong leadership, and I believe we can regain our trust with the people of this state if we do three things. Firstly, turn to a new generation of Labor Party leaders. Secondly, admit that what we're doing isn't working and we need to change. And thirdly, develop a plan to see the people of this state vote for us and not simply against the coalition. We have a simple fact, and it's a truth, that while Labor's historic mission hasn't changed, the world has changed, and new ideas are needed to make sure we meet our historic objectives and mission. I don't want to lead, and I want to make this clear, I don't want to lead a political party that's praying for the government to fail. I want to lead a 130-year-old political movement that attracts support and votes to us because the people of this state believe we have the ideas and the personnel to make this state better. And with that, I'm happy to take your questions.
What makes you the right person to lead Labor?
Well, I believe that we should turn to a new generation of Labor Party leaders. I think that we should have new ideas and a fresh approach to engaging with these issues, and we should, at the end of the day, approach politics differently. It's not good enough for us to sit back and wait for political opportunities to arise, and as a result, try and exploit them. We have to provide answers to the pressing problems facing New South Wales, and if we don't do that, we're going to continue to fail at the ballot box.
But why should Labor back you?
Well, I believe I'm the best person to carry out those goals.
Now, Gladys Berejiklian, she's got the biggest infrastructure program of all time in New South Wales history. She's building things that we've needed for years and Labor failed to deliver. How on earth are you going to mount an argument against that?
Well, I mean, if you look at the Metro Railway that's opening, it would be ridiculous of me or anyone else, I believe, in the Labor Party to stand up on Sunday and say this is a bad project, it's a good project, it's one that Sydney needs. What's the next project? Where's the next infrastructure public transport initiative for this state? One's not enough. They're pulling up the Canterbury line and putting a metro along there. Where's the next metro?
But they say they're going to build a Western
And at the
Metro.
moment,
They say they're going to build a Western Metro.
deep into the future without economic plans to sustain it. And you know as well as I know that stamp duty receipts are declining, the Commonwealth contribution to New South Wales is receding, and we have lost dividends and revenue from the privatisations that they are responsible for. So yes, it is a question for us in the Labor Party, but it's also a question for them. Where's the next public transport and public infrastructure project going to be built?
But they've got zero net debt, so they can just borrow for it, surely.
At the moment, next year it explodes when dividends stop and the proceeds of the privatisations are spent.
So Chris, where should the next infrastructure project be?
I think we should look at, I mean, they've got two big toll road projects on the run at the moment, the F6 and the Northern Beaches Tunnel. I think we should look at those two things. I mean, that is two big toll road projects across Sydney. We should be looking at public transport alternatives. Now, look, we've got 4 years to develop our proposals on that, and I know that you'll be on top of me and any other Labor Party leader to give you specifics as to how we will fund it. But look, toll roads are not the answer to the congestion that's crippling Sydney. Public transport is.
What are you going to do? In federal and state politics, the public have been quite frustrated and the parties seem to be navel-gazing, looking at who's going to be the next leader rather than caring about what people are facing every day, like work, going to school, trying to pay for childcare. Are you hoping that no one will stand up against you? Or hoping this will be nice and clean?
No, I want a contest. I want a contest. And look, democracy's messy. It is. It's not ideal. As Winston Churchill said, it's the worst form of government except for everything else. And democracy inside the Labor Party is going to be as messy as any other. But we need it. I mean, political parties in this country are atrophying. They're completely, the numbers in branch meetings, the numbers of people who are interested in running for local council or state government are falling through the floor. We need people inside the process. And political parties around the world have adopted this primary model. Now, yeah, we're going to cop a kicking because we don't have a leader in place at the very beginning of the process. But we've got something more important than that. We're opening this up to the democratic process. We're opening it up to party members across New South Wales. We want them to be part of this process. I want there to be a contest, and I'll say this, I'll sign any nomination form of anybody that wants to contribute to this process because it's important for the future of our party, and through that, the future of New South Wales.
Chris, you will get your contest. Jodie McKay is going to run against you. Numbers are being counted. Why you rather than her?
Well, I don't want to present this as me rather than her. Obviously, I think I'm the best person to do the job. I'd only position this as a appeal to my colleagues on the basis of turning to a new generation of Labor Party leaders, new ideas to invigorate our agenda, and also new ideas because the world's changing. We need, I mean, there's academic papers and research that indicates the coming decade will be the most disruptive in a century. The nature and shape of work will change fundamentally over the next 10 years. We need new ideas to make sure that people have got a job, that we know where economic growth is going to come from, and that there's a future for the people of New South Wales.
What ideas have you got?
Well, look, I'm going to detail them in the coming days and weeks. I've outlined 3 priorities. We've got 4 long years. I don't want to rush the process, but my priorities absolutely are public transport over toll roads, a fresh approach to the urban environment, ways to fund these important public infrastructure projects, and I think we need some excitement and vitality in Sydney. So I'm going to have more to say about the lockout laws and changes to our planning processes, because I think Sydney's lost its edge.
Can you
Speaking about city
work?
leadership, because if you won, it would give you legitimacy as leader of the Labor Party?
Yeah, I think it would. I think self-evidently, if I was to win a leadership ballot with the support of the rank and file members of the Labor Party, then it would give me legitimacy as Labor Party leader. One of the reasons that the process was introduced, and I worked hard to see it come into fruition. I thought about 8 years ago when this proposal came to fruition, I was one of the people that was leading it, because I believed the party did need to democratise. We had to take it out of the back rooms and throw it open to average rank and file members of the Labor Party to see them have their say about the future of their party.
Can you work with Kayla Manane? Can you work with Kayla Manane? And isn't she the biggest stumbling block to you becoming leader?
I can work with everybody, I think, in the interest of the Labor Party. It's our obligation, all of us, party officials, members of Parliament, to put the past in the past, to focus on the future of New South Wales. I mean, every second that we spend talking about ourselves is a second that we're not talking about the people of New South Wales. And if we're not doing that, we will not be successful at the ballot box, and people will not see us as an alternative government for New South Wales.
But can she block you? Could she block you here? Could she stop you becoming leader?
I don't think so, no. This process is unique for the Labor Party in New South Wales. We've never had one before. It's open to average members of New South Wales Labor to have their say. I shouldn't say average, exceptional members of New South Wales Labor to have their say about the future of our state, our party. So no one can block anyone. This is open to the masses, exactly as it should be.
Yeah, but Sydney says that it's disgraceful that New South Wales Labor has not had a leader for the past 2 months, and they won't for probably another month or so. There'll be no one to stand up at budget. Do you think it is disgraceful? Is it a mistake to wait until after the federal election?
No, I think that the Labor Party's shown it can walk and chew gum in relation to this. As I said, democracy is messy. It's not going to be a clean run, but we've accepted that it's important for our political party. And I make this point. It's my prediction at some point in the future that the Liberal Party will adopt exactly the same policies, because they've got a process where lobbyists are up and down the chains of their political organisation, having a big say in who their leaders are. They should turn the page over and have this democratic process themselves. The next time they have a leadership contest, it shouldn't be decided in the back rooms. It should be thrown open to the rank and file members of the Liberal Party, as I understand Tony Abbott is advocating for, and John Howard. This is a process that should be open to the members. It's going to take time. There's going to be a debate about our future, because it's important we do that to connect with the people of this state.
We're going to go to a budget though without.
Well, I mean, in a sense, that's not up to me. That's up to my colleagues. I hope I'm successful. I hope I can present a suite of policies and priorities that can reconnect with the people of New South Wales. I'm hoping that my appeal to say to Labor that we should accept that the people of the state are ambitious, that they want to get ahead, that is a recipe to win, and also the manifestation of Labor's historic mission. We want people to succeed. We want people to see and live their full potential.
Among your
go to a budget
colleagues, what is the mood like for change? Do they actually want the path that you are creating here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that generally speaking they do. Self-evidently, we've lost 3 elections on the trot. New South Wales Labor hasn't been successful since 2010. I mean, my contention to my colleagues, and for some it might be uncomfortable, but my contention to my colleagues is what we're doing isn't working. We can't sit back over the next 4 years and act as if we're a really well-meaning ombudsman trying to keep the government to account. We must be the alternative government for New South Wales, and if we don't do that with specific policies and priorities, we are done for.
Do you
Which
still
means how will you
believe-
fight for
do you
regional
still
New
believe,
South
Chris,
Wales?
that, do you still believe that unions should have less influence, less numbers on the conference floor, as you said in your maiden speech?
Well, look, I said that in my maiden speech, and the purpose of that was an honest attempt to get more people involved in the Labor Party. I've seen my branches go backwards over recent years, and I was attempting to say to the Labor movement, we need new policies, we need new people, we need new faces in our branches from a diverse range of backgrounds. It's been misconstrued as an attack on the union movement, which I don't have. I don't want to attack the trade union movement under any circumstances. These are people that work their tail off in defence of their members, and I've worked extremely close with them over the last 4 years. But the truth is, over those 4 years, my proposal has been met with very little support, almost no support. So I have to be realistic about the future of Labor, and I have to do that if I'm elected Labor Party leader, hand in hand with the trade union movement, which I'm determined to do.
You're talking about city livability and urban development. How will you fight for regional New South Wales? What are some of those issues that you think are important to country communities?
I said in my opening statement that climate change is an existential threat to the economy in regional New South Wales. And one of the things about renewable energy and climate change is that it's my firm belief that it's our obligation to fight on behalf of regional communities, because I've spoken to farmers who live on the Darling River who've sold up, their businesses have closed down. We've got a town in far western New South Wales that had 40 continuous days of temperatures above 40 degrees. Now that is related to the climate emergency. So it used to be that the climate change debate was an academic one about the future. Well, we need to take action on climate change because at some point in the distant future there's going to be a catastrophe. That point is now, and it's affecting regional communities first and foremost.
What about regional livability, like
First
healthcare?
stage of the F6 is due to be open before the next election. You're suggesting it doesn't go any further. Is that right?
Well, the F6 is an extremely truncated proposal. So we've got a situation where it extends for I think 1.6 kilometres rather than its full length all the way to the Shire, which is the purpose of it. And the F6 is going to increase traffic in the St George region by 25%. And I think it's the quintessential project that demonstrates the government's desire to build toll roads above public transport. Imagine building a toll road, a toll tunnel, that would increase the amount of surface traffic by 25%. So like, Murray, I accept your point, the election's 4 years away, but we can't act like Winter Olympians, twiddling our thumbs, waiting for our next opportunity. We need to make a difference today, and if that means standing up in the Parliament and trying to convince the government that they're wrong and that there's a better alternative, that's exactly what I'll do.
What about policies
At
like
the
the
moment, it's trying to draw all the traffic to Cogger and no further. And that's what your own constituents are doing. They want it extended.
Well, that's right, but if it really comes down to a choice between a toll road, an F6 toll road that extends into the Shire, or more public transport to alleviate pressure on the Illawarra line. So I bet if you spoke to the majority of constituents here in Cogra, they'd say, we want a clean public transport system to get us to work rather than a congested motorway that's just going to suck more traffic into the St George region.
You've mentioned that Labor needs to move forward, but we're not going to have an elected leader for the state budget reply. Isn't that the opportunity that you're going to miss laying out what Labor's economic vision is in the future?
Look, those processes are important, and I haven't shied away from the fact that it's not ideal, but I just believe it's important. I believe it's important to have a ballot. I think it's important for the future of the party that we start to, after 3 election losses without a victory in this state since 2010, that we start to have a discussion about where we're going wrong and how we can start to go right.
Chris, in the both state and federal levels, candidates have pulled out because of family reasons. You've got a young family yourself, mate. How would you juggle that if you get the top job? I mean, you've got 3 young kids here.
With great difficulty. But I've made a decision that I care about the Labor Party, that it's all of our responsibility to put in and try and make it successful, and I truly believe that's in the interest of my family and my kids as well.
And you have the support of your wife now?
Yes, I do.
Members of the union have already
Well, I've got a big task to try and convince them that they're wrong and that I'm worthy of their support. But that's why this process goes for a month. The previous leadership election went for, I think, 3 days. So I guess I'd ask them to suspend their judgment and take both candidates up on what their, whomever else, there may be more than two candidates, what their plans are for New South Wales, and I'm hoping I convince them that I'm worthy of their vote.
For the first time, rank and file are very important in this. A lot of them will be watching and listening. What would you say to them with their powerful vote?
I'd say to them that they're the kings and queens of this process, that they're the ones that will decide the future of New South Wales Labor. What I offer is a new generation of Labor Party leaders. I believe that we should be courageous when it comes to policy decisions, that we should put out our proposals to the people of this state early, that we should stand by them, and that ultimately we have to trust that our ideas, when they're fully ventilated, when they're fully debated in the court of public opinion, are superior to the government's. Trust that Labor works, trust that we can form government, and if we do these things, we will win the next election. But beyond that, have a decent and strong Labor Party government.
Have you sat down with any union members to speak to them before announcing you're running for the position today?
I've spoken to trade union members, trade union leaders for months, right through my period as a opposition shadow spokesperson and since the election campaign. We're all in this together. The Labor Party's got to move together as one group. And of course, they're an integral part of the future of this great party.
Michael Daly and Luke Foley basically both fell over, met pretty sort of bloody fates in the end. Do you fear that? It's very hard for an opposition leader to stay there for 4 years.
Yeah, well, I hope I prove the statistic wrong and last a full 4 years. But look, I'm confident that over the 4 years, if we can get our team together, if we can unite, if we can present a positive, bold agenda for this state, then we'll succeed at the ballot box. But I'm under no illusions that that's going to be a very difficult task.
You talk about a new generation of Labor leaders. Do you have a deputy?
Not as yet, but that would be a contest, and I would encourage everybody, particularly young members of caucus, to take a chance, to put their hand up and have a say in the future of our party. Whether that's through the deputy leadership process or being ambitious for themselves about joining the shadow cabinet. We need a diverse range of voices inside our movement, young and experienced, and that's the opportunity for Labor.
Will you keep the same front bench? They haven't been the best performers.
Well, look, I haven't made any decisions or deals or announcements or any conversations about that. I genuinely haven't. In my conversations with my colleagues, and to be fair to them, they haven't asked. This is really about the leadership of the party, the priorities that we're going to put out there in the future of New South Wales, and who will go where inside the shadow cabinet is a matter for later.
One of your female colleagues told me that there's appetite for a woman as Labor leader given the succession of white males that the party has had in New South Wales. What do you say to that? How will you be different?
Well, I hope that a woman nominates, and I expect that Jodie will nominate, and I think that's fantastic. I mean, this is a competitive process. All that I can do is put my name forward and hope that my plans and ideas resonate with the party membership. But whoever told you that's right, we should have female leadership of the Australian Labor Party, and they should contest this leadership contest, and I hope that they do. And I make this pledge: any prospective candidates that can't get to 15 nominating signatures, you can count me as one, because I think we need this ballot for the future of the party.
You're talking about basically blowing the show up as it stands. How will you do that without the support of head office? Almost redefine head office.
Well, look, I don't think I wouldn't characterise it as blowing the show up. I mean, democracy means that you do have these contests and these battle for ideas. I don't believe that anyone, me included, I certainly wouldn't stand here if I didn't have a plan for the future of New South Wales Labor. And it's not directly related to previous leaders, and it's not. I hope that it charts a fresh and new approach for the New South Wales Labor Party. But it's not. I'm not standing here in an adverse way, hoping to upset the apple cart. I'm just making the point that the Labor Party needs to change after three successive election defeats. If we don't change, we're not going to survive as a political movement. Okay, thanks very much.
Chris.
Yeah.